Hello and welcome to this week's Social Media Help Desk. This is the time every week where we let you know about what is going on social media in the news and give you some tips and tricks that you can go ahead and use in your everyday life. Today I am joined with our content editor, Ivana, and our web developer, Angie.
Hi.
So this is going to be an interesting one. We've got some kind of cool stuff that's going on in the news that we'll be able to circle back to later on once we know more. But we want to start with something really fun. YouTube is now doing augmented reality for beauty try-ons. We've seen this kind of float around before, but the overall idea is YouTubers who do the makeup, who do, they do reviews of different kinds of makeup, whether they're influencers or become influencers by the time they're done doing it, often are talking about specific products. Well, now YouTube says, okay, cool, show us your face. We will put it on your face so you can see what it looks like.
I'm wondering, so how does this work? Like you watch the video and there's another feature on YouTube that is like scanning your face? Like how does...
Or is it like real time? Like I don't know.
Like,
what is it like?
Because I love the beauty videos because especially with makeup, a lot of things are very expensive. You know, it could be like a $45 palette. I don't want to buy it if it's, it's not good. So like that's interesting, but like how accurate is this? And I wonder, as far as like whoever the beauty guru is that's doing the makeup, is it like their style of makeup that you like if it's like a certain eyeshadow, like you click on it and that's gonna be eyeshadow on your face, or?
This sounds like, regardless of what it is right now, it has a lot it could develop into.
Oh yeah.
Statistically, they're saying already 30% of users are opting in to do it.
Yeah, because why not? Why wouldn't you try?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
I mean, everyone loves going in and trying anything that's like instantly. Like, you can try
like
yourself
the filters
and
I immediately my thought was Snapchat filters. I already know what the back end looks like of if I'm selling a product, I'm using an influencer, and then I can see which users are using this and then retarget back to them.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it yet, but I'm actually very curious if that's. I mean, there's always a purpose to this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm wondering if there's going to be any like issues with, they're seeing your face, like they're kind of recording your face. So I wonder if that's going to have any like security. People might have some problems with that.
Well, there's always those questions of like facial recognition is happening, like when they had the 10 years ago versus 10 years, and everybody was talking about Han Face. And this one I have feelings on. Facebook's introducing their own cryptocurrency. It is called Libra. It's launching next year in 2020. So it's kind of, cryptocurrency as a whole is meant for you to be able to trade goods online, offline. That's goods and services, kind of the same way any currency works. Yeah. But the idea is it doesn't have a denomination necessarily like attached to it. So I can use, this cryptocurrency here and in Albania. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't have to cross over of anything else.
It's interesting that they're doing this. It makes a lot of sense, I feel like, because Facebook and Instagram are really pushing towards the, having basically a shoppable app. Everyone, you can buy things from Instagram and Facebook too. So I think that with businesses that are trying to sell their products and services online, they can, I'm assuming that with this new cryptocurrency, you can buy it through that. If you're like on Facebook, you want to buy a product. You can buy it through their cryptocurrency, Libra or whatever.
Right.
It kind of reminds me, this is such a silly example, but it kind of reminds me of if you play phone apps and then you pay money for the in-game currency, and then you can use said in-game currency in order to buy, I don't know, more Pokeballs or something. I think we're still doing that. I think I'm still doing that, honestly. But like that's kind of what cryptocurrency in general reminds me of. Yeah. Bitcoin is a whole other beast.
Yeah.
Right.
That's got to do with you better have servers set up that are mining for Bitcoin. I think that's
how
it works.
I don't know how it works, but I know it's really popular.
I've had it explained to me. I'm not going to try and explain it again. But yeah, I just, what they're saying, quote from Libra Association's head of policy and communications, says that the goal really isn't to improve financial inclusion and due to the transfer of value and payments, what the internet has done to the transfer of communication and information. That's a lot of fluff. I don't actually know 100% what that means.
They may not even know.
They may not know.
Yeah. It hasn't rolled out yet.
Not yet.
So there's probably a lot of kinks they have to...
Though they already have 27 partners who are signed up to do this.
Which is so interesting to me.
Who do they
I don't know. As a user, personally, I don't know if I would ever use it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for... Facebook's efforts to push the business and even with ads and all that kind of stuff, it's really all about making the money. So I think it's really it's kind of pushing away though from just social media as like a community. It's not really more it's not really about the connection anymore between your friends. It's
That
more
is
about
a weird pivot.
It's like use all of Facebook's things that they develop.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they want you to just use everything.
Yeah.
That's Facebook related.
Yeah.
That is a weird pivot because there was so much push of like, okay, right now they're pushing groups a lot. They're talking about like join the groups. This is a great way to be a community. Let's talk. Also use our money. I don't know what that means, but I mean, what's crazy is that they've got Lyft, which kind of makes sense to me. That seems like something based on that. Spotify, which fine. eBay, which I think is doing a grab for people who use a lot of Facebook.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
This one is, I mean, it makes sense knowing how big they are. Visa.
Yeah, that's
Visa is a partner.
I don't understand that.
I think
it's just like a conflict of interest, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I agree.
I mean, if they're gonna, they don't care what the money is called. They just know the money's there.
Yeah, maybe if you have a Visa card, you can transfer your money into whatever cryptocurrency this is.
But then why would I just use my Visa?
Right,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, why wouldn't I?
They just want to keep everything in, you know?
Yeah.
So the message here is Facebook's doing it. We know about it. We'll keep you updated on what this means because you never know. This could turn into, I mean, if 27 partners have come on,
That's a lot.
there's a reason for it. They
Right.
know that there's money there and there's marketing there. And so we'll let you know once we also know more, but there's not a whole lot out there quite yet or seeing how it's going to work. You know, we never know. It could just blow up overnight and then everybody's using it. Next thing you know, it's the nation of Facebook, which, sure. Who knows?
It's like taking over the world.
Yeah, right.
I sound like a doomsdayer. That's not what I'm saying. Facebook is innovative, is what I'm saying. Moving on to something a little bit more personal related. So this is, everybody has a website and you want it to run really well and you want it to run fast. And we give tips constantly. Go back and watch some of our backlog of this where, you know, we give you tips and tricks. But here's one that's a little bit more technical and it's about caching your website. Angie's going to go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, so the number one thing, well, you used to think you'd go to your website and you're like, wow, it's great, it's flashy, it's impactful, I want to click through the site. You really need to think about the speed of your website though. So if the speed of your website, so say it takes 5 to 10 seconds to load this really great background video image. Are people even going to stay on your site for that? Or are they going to move off because they're annoyed or they're frustrated? We're in this age where like, you know, if it doesn't load within even 3 or 4 seconds, we're annoyed.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a different website. We're going to find our information somewhere else. So
even if some elements don't load, like most of it'll load and then there will be like an image missing. I was like, well, what if that's the important image? And now I'm mad and I'm leaving.
a lot of times it's the images and the videos.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because a lot of times people that are uploading these images, they're getting them from photographers that are giving them high-res images, or they're buying them off stock photography sites that are high resolution.
Yeah.
And so you're putting in these huge files that are taking up so much of the bandwidth trying to load your website.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we actually started doing this in our web maintenance plan. So if you're on our web maintenance plan, every month we go through and check all this, but we add what's called caching to your website. So if you have a WordPress website, you can just do a plugin, and what it does is it stores your information. And typically this is already happening. You go to websites, like, you know, it's storing the passwords, it's storing a lot of the images, the copy.
Or like if you visited a site before and it loads slower one time, but the second time you go, it loads faster. It's because it's holding on to that data and says, oh, I know you've been here before.
Exactly. And so a lot of times, like us as designers and developers, we'll go in and make a change and we won't see it right away because our site is cached, because it knows that we've gone there so many times, it's just loading it quicker for us. So when you hear the term clear your cache, that's what it means. We want you to go in and clear the cache so that you can see the site fresh and new, and then from there on it'll keep storing the information. Okay. So caching is like crucial. I mean, pretty much every website should have some sort of caching plugin or something so that people can view your site quicker. Another way to check the speed of your website is you can do an audit. So if you're on Chrome, you can right click and do inspect element, and you're going to get a bunch of information at the top where you can, it's called the Lighthouse audit.
It's run by Google, right? It's Google's own app
Right.
for inspecting your site.
Right, and then you can test the speed for mobile and desktop of your site. It takes like probably maybe 60 seconds, and then it will run a report and will give you things like performance, accessibility, best practices in SEO. It'll give you a ranking out of 100, and then below that it'll give you a list of things. And a lot of times what comes up is your images are too large, and so what you can do is you can go in and, you know, resize the images or the videos, or caching is a great way to solve all this, because if someone has already gone to your website and then they come back, those images and videos will have then been stored. so they can
Got
easily
it.
see them and it'll load much quicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is like really important, especially because everyone's on their phones,
I know.
and I'm always looking at websites on my phone,
right.
and I feel like, you know, compared to a computer, I have way less patience when I'm looking at websites on my phone than I do on the
Absolutely.
computer.
Yeah.
So.
And we know that people are using their mobile more than they're using their desktop.
Right.
So,
So
speed
overall-
is like incredibly important.
Right. So like what I'm saying is design and functionality, everything that is great, but if your site does not load, all that's out the window. Like you have to
Yeah.
think about page speed almost as like the very first thing you think about when you're designing and developing your website, or even looking at your current website.
I was just talking to Lila, one of our content editors too. We were talking about page speed and how important it was, and like looking up statistics that like Google had given us and stuff. And she's gonna write a blog about it. We'll let you know when it's out. But the amount of drop off that people have on websites per second that it takes to load is like exponential. Like the longer it takes, the like higher that rate drops off.
Not
makes
surprising.
And it's like 2 seconds, and they still have like 10% of people are gonna drop off anyway.
Wow.
So that's a very short amount of time.
Right.
So caching is a really good idea. And
Right.
so, like she said, if you're on our web maintenance plan, this is something that we do every month.
But you know, with so many people on Instagram, so many businesses, posting on your feed isn't really going to be enough. People are really getting into Instagram stories, and Facebook has stories too, and Snapchat, but I think Instagram has been the most prominent out of all the social media channels. And stories are really good. I love stories because they're only up for 24 hours, and so, you know, instead of clogging up your own personal feed, you can kind of just give your audience a little snippet of your day-to-day, or just, you know, random little things, and it'll go away in 24 hours. So, and the really good thing, when you have the poll, every time someone votes, you can see what each user put and what percentage, you know, is like on each side. And I think this is really good for if you're, you know, introducing a product or a service, you know, asking the consumers, you know, like, what do you think about this product? Do I really like it or I don't? You know, just kind of getting their opinion more, I think is really good. You can get a lot of good feedback from that.
Those ones get me every time. I
Yeah,
cannot
I love
help.
that.
People love giving their opinions, even when you're like, I'm in a pool of
Yeah.
however many people, and I'm going to click one of these buttons every time. It
Yeah.
works
So they're
for
going to
me.
give you their opinion.
You know,
Yeah.
your overall society of
Right.
your business.
I follow a bakery that's up in Big Bear, California, and I love this tiny bakery. It's run by two sisters, and they do stories all the time, and their questions are always really fun. It's like, what flavor cake should we do next? Like, what's the new thing we should, and it's always this like, we're engaging with you because we want to hear what you want to buy, but it's done in such a fun way. I mean, they have great aesthetic. They've done a very good job there. So it's just like one of those things, they know who's engaging with them and they know who their audience is.
Yeah.
And so they've done a really good job of making polls relevant to their clients and relevant to their business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing about a good idea that I thought about was maybe doing like a quick Q&A with like the owner of the company or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen ones like that.
Yeah, like how did you start the company, or like what inspired you to do this and that. And you can respond with like a video or a picture, or you could write the text out. You know, I think it's a really good way to kind of, for your audience to really get to know your business on a deeper level than just normal feed posts.
Yeah, those ones are really fun. I feel like you get to, I mean, it also allows you, if you get a bunch of questions, you can then like choose which, you know, you get to be careful about what you choose.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to post every single one, which is
Yeah,
nice.
and so it's nice, and then like people get to be a part of it, especially if like you see your question you come up and you're like, oh, they're talking about your name's not on there, but, or they could tag you. That depends on how you feel about that. But
that's the other good thing. You don't have to. You will come up anonymous. So if you want to ask a question, go ahead.
Yeah.
they'll know on the other side, but they, you know, once you post it to your story, no one's gonna know it was you. But yeah, I think that one's really fun.
Yeah, that one's pretty
those are fun.
The last one is countdown. So when you go in your story, you can also set up. So say you have a big sale coming up, or a new location opening, or anything like that, a new product or something, you can make a countdown. And what your users can do, your audience, they can go in and they can subscribe to that countdown. So once that day or time, whenever it comes, they'll get a notification. So I think
That's very
one's
cool.
really
I didn't
fun.
realize you got a notification.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that
you
either.
I didn't know that part.
subscribe to it.
I mean, I've always seen it, but I've never like interacted with it.
Yeah,
I've
like
just,
just look at it. I'm pretty
okay,
quick
next.
to click by, but I'm like, oh, okay, there's a countdown for something. Okay, see you later. Or
Yeah.
I figure it out.
Or
But I
I'll
didn't
see when
realize
it's passed and it's like countdown's over, like
Yeah.
sales
Oh, yeah.
live, sales sold out. And you're
Well,
like,
I was
oh.
always confused about the countdown. I had to do a little research on this one because I was confused about it because I was like, okay, say I put a countdown up that's it's going to end in 7 days. My story's only up for 24 hours, so like, how does that work? Yeah, so you just click on it, you can subscribe, and so when it comes close to the ending date of, you know, whatever your sale or anything like that, then they'll get notification for it, which I think is awesome for sales and things like
That is
that.
really good.
You know, that's a great reminder for people.
Yeah, I think it would not only, like, I can see both sides of it of saying, like, the sale ends in X amount of time or this sale starts in.
Exactly.
Like, I'm thinking specifically for businesses that are, well, I guess it could be service industries too, like, where they're doing specials for, like, Black Friday.
Yes.
Or, like, the week before, like, hey, watch our story. Here's the things you're going to find on sale. Here's how many days you have before Black Friday. Because people like building up to anticipation. But there's also that sense of urgency of this is going to end. You got to do it now.
Exactly.
I hadn't thought of like how cool that one was. I always saw it. I didn't think about it that much.
I've only seen a few people do it. I haven't really seen businesses
We should
do
use it
too much.
more.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. We
That
could
is
do it for
very
Video
cool.
Studio Day in Atlanta.
I know, that's what I was just
I
thinking.
know, we should.
Yeah,
Look at us brainstorming for all of you.
The other thing you can do with all of these is make them into ads. I've seen a lot of businesses do it with polls.
Okay.
And that's a really good way to find your audience. You can see who's engaging with you, and from there you can retarget them.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So I have a couple of separate questions about stories that aren't covered here, and I hope you can answer them for me. How many stories? How many stories is too many stories to have in a day? Like, how many should you have? You know how, like, okay, personal ones where it's like the dots. Oh, I skip them. I can't watch.
I think
all
it
of your stuff.
depends on what the story is about. So, you know, a way that I think is a really good way to capture it, that if you can have a lot of stories, is just kind of, you know, keep them engaged. So, like, you know, swipe to see, like, the big reveal or like whatever you're doing, you know? So like in that case, it would be fine to have a lot of stories, but I think it's just, you know, case by case basis. It really depends on what you're doing. If it's just like a picture and a bunch of text, no one's gonna read that.
No,
if it's a video, you know, like 10 seconds or something, I think you have up to 15 seconds for a video on each story. But yeah, if you have something like, if you're gonna have a lot, keep them engaged. It has to be something that they want to be clicking through, because there's a lot of stories, you know, not just businesses, but users, you know, always are posting them as well.
Yeah.
So you have to provide something that's going to be captivating for the audience.
So I can think of a reason that you might have a little bit more is that, let's say we have some clients who do events and things like that, where it's like if you've got an event going on and maybe you set up a countdown beforehand to say this is happening, and then I'm so excited about this countdown.
I'm going to use countdowns now.
But then you would have like a story that would say, okay, here's where we are, here's our booth, we're at this place or whatever we're doing, and then somebody's going around and going, here's this thing that's happening, here's this thing that's happening, and it might be an all-day thing, so you may end up with a little bit more, but I could see that being really
that would
useful.
make sense if you had a lot, because you're showing throughout that whole day.
Exactly.
You're engaging people in different steps along the way.
Yeah. I mean, you should gauge by, you know, whatever the situation is, but also you can also share other people's stories if they tagged you.
Yeah.
So that's a good way, you know, to kind of, you know, cross-promote, things like that. And you can also share your normal pictures or anyone's normal pictures as your story as well. So I like to do that.
Oh, no, this all sounds. That's all sounds really fun.
I guess on stories.
I don't know.
You do a lot.
I always like see them and interact with them, and sometimes it's like, oh, this is a good idea. I can't believe I didn't think of this first, because there's sometimes people use them in really unique ways.
Yeah, well, you can also, one of like my favorite things about it is you can add music to it. So say you're recording something and the sound is really bad or it's just really loud, just mute it and then put your own song to it. It's perfect.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't use stories as much as
I love
for my
stories.
personal stuff.
I use stories more than I post.
I'm guilty of
on
only using stories.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
me too.
find that I don't even like scroll to like see what's on people's profiles or like their actual picture anymore. Like,
but that's good to know as like a business owner. You know, people are looking at stories way more.
Well, think about it. You start at the top of your feed. It's at the top of your feed.
Yeah, and
you
it's
just
the
go,
top most popular ones that you always click on. So you're going to be interested in whoever those top 4 are.
And then it's so easy to hold your phone, hit the thing, and then you just sit there and click through it, and it's like it's easy. We love that like satisfaction of clicking something and be given new stuff.
Well, it's fast. Like
it's very fast.
And the best part, I think,
you have complete control.
Speaking of speeds, that's another thing. If I ever have bad internet and I cannot get stories to load, I get so frustrated.
Yeah, I know.
So frustrated. So you can't control that part of it. But yeah, that's really cool. Speaking of countdowns, though, we're coming to the end of our social media help desk today, but we want to tell you a couple of things that we have coming up, both here in Orange County and in Atlanta. So starting with Atlanta, if you are someone who is in the Atlanta area, at the end of this month, I believe it's the 20, I'm going to look at Natalie over there. Is it the 26th?
Yes, 26th.
26th and August 2nd. So the 26th of July and August 2nd, we are doing a social media boot camp in Atlanta. So this is a cool thing that we like to do. We love to be educational. It's going to be on Facebook and LinkedIn. It's very hands-on. You bring your laptop. You get to talk through like, okay, here's how you set it up. Here's how you make posts. Here's how you create a calendar of making your stuff. It's very informational. The whole point is we want to arm you with the information that you need. We don't want to hoard it for ourselves. So we care very much about that. So you can check that out. Go ahead and go to our website, KWSMdigital.com. We're going to have more information there. And then we're posting it all over Facebook too. And then the other thing, the thing that's happening in Orange County is our video studio day is back. This is one of our favorite things to do. It allows people to come in. We set up a studio in our office. We stand you in front of a camera and we either ask you questions and create like an interview style about your business. You know, we work it out with you and figure out, you know, what's the best messaging that can, you know, go out to your people. Or you can also do it on teleprompter. So if you write a script, we have a teleprompter for you, and then you just read it off looking straight into the camera. Both of those are totally valid ways to do it. We can give you recommendations if you're not sure which one. But it's another great way to get more content, things that are going to go, they work. We set them up so they're good for social. We set them up so they're good for your website. You can load them anywhere you need them to be. So if you are looking for a cost-effective, easy way to get 4 short videos in the span of a half an hour, that's as long as it takes us to do it, and then get it back to you as quickly as we can, you know, that's a really good way to do it. So that's coming up on the 11th of July. You can visit our website. We have a banner up at the top that tells you, hey, this is upcoming. You can sign up. You can even sign up right there. We've got sometimes limited time available, but go check it out, and we'd love to have you here. Otherwise, we will see you all next week. If you do have any other questions, feel free to comment in this below. You can always check out the backlog on YouTube. And if you have any other questions, you can email us at tips@kwsmdigital.com, and we will see you next week.